Reach behind you and put your hand at the base of your spine. That little bump right at the bottom? That is the end of your tailbone. It is a tail, a real one, just canceled halfway through construction. You spent a few weeks as an embryo with an actual tail, a small, curling extension of your spine, complete with the bones to build it. And then your body took that tail, absorbed most of it back inside you, and left you with a stump you will spend the rest of your life only noticing when you fall down the stairs. Every mammal around us kept theirs. Dogs wag them. Cats use them for balance. Monkeys hang off branches with them like it is nothing. And somewhere back in your family tree, one of your ancestors quietly lost the entire feature. This is the story of why you don't have a tail. And fair warning, this one goes back much further than cavemen. No fur, no fire, no spears. To find the moment the tail disappeared, we have to rewind about 25 million years to an ancestor that was not a human, not a caveman, it was an ape. And the tail did not fade away slowly over millions of patient years. It looks like it vanished in more or less a single genetic accident. Let's start with the obvious question. If tails are so useful, and they clearly are, ask any squirrel, why would evolution throw one away? For a long time, the honest scientific answer was a shrug. Maybe apes started moving differently. Maybe sitting upright made a tail more nuisance than tool. Maybe once our ancestors stopped racing along the tops of branches and started swinging and climbing, a long tail stopped earning its keep. Those ideas explain why losing a tail might be okay. They don't explain how you actually delete one. Because a tail is not a small thing to remove. It is spine, muscle, nerves, and blood vessels, all coordinated during the earliest weeks of development. You cannot casually misplace that. You would expect it to take a long, messy series of changes. Instead, in 2024, a team of researchers went looking for the exact genetic switch. And what they found was almost suspiciously tidy. The gene at the center of it is called TBXT, a gene involved in building the tail during embryo development. Our ape ancestors picked up a piece of what scientists nicely call a jumping gene, a little stretch of DNA that copies itself and pastes into random spots in the genome, usually doing absolutely nothing. This one landed somewhere that mattered. It pasted itself into the TBXT gene, and it happened to pair up with another similar fragment already sitting nearby. Together, those two pieces changed how the gene's instructions get read. Like two typos on opposite sides of a sentence that, combined, quietly flip its meaning. The result was a version of TBXT that builds a body without a long tail, and the blueprint for the tail was fundamentally rewritten. To test whether this little fragment was really the culprit, the researchers engineered mice to carry the same kind of change, and the mice were born with shortened tails, or no tails at all. They had recreated, in a lab, an accident from 25 million years ago. Now, here is where the story stops being a fun fact and starts being about you, because that same experiment revealed a cost. The mice that lost their tails had a higher rate of a serious birth defect, problems with the neural tube. That is the structure in an embryo that becomes the spinal cord and brain. When it does not close properly, the results are severe. And in humans, neural tube defects are not some ancient footnote. They still affect roughly 1 in 1,000 newborns today. So the researchers proposed something unsettling. Losing the tail may have come bundled with a raised risk of these defects. It got a trade. The upgrade came with a tax, written into our development, and we may still be paying a version of that tax right now. Nobody sat down and agreed to this. There was no meeting. A random fragment of DNA jumped into one gene, deleted a body part, handed us a lasting medical liability. And the only reason it stuck around is that the apes carrying it survived and reproduced anyway. That is not design. That is a rough draft that shipped. Now let's rescue the tail from sounding completely pointless, because your absent tail did not leave without a trace. That stump at the base of your spine, the tailbone, or coccyx, is not useless leftover junk. Several muscles anchor to it. It helps support you when you sit. It is part of the floor that holds up organs in your pelvis. The tail's construction site got repurposed into something quietly load-bearing. And every so often, the old instructions misfire. Very rarely, a human baby is born with a small, tail-like growth at the base of the spine. Usually, it is soft tissue rather than a true bony tail, and it is typically removed. But it is a reminder that the blueprint for a tail was never fully erased. It was switched off. The plans are still in the drawer. Which is the strangest part of all of this. You are not a creature that never had a tail. You are a creature that builds one, briefly, in the dark, and then unbuilds it before you are ever born. Every single one of us does this. You did it. You had a tail for a few weeks, and you will never remember it. So the next time you feel that little bump at the base of your spine, remember what it actually is. Not a flaw. Not an accident of your own body. It is the scar from an accident 25 million years old. A jumping fragment of DNA that pasted itself into the wrong place, deleted the tail of an entire family of apes, quietly raised the risk written into our spines, and left you with a souvenir you carry every day without thinking about it. You didn't lose your tail. An ape you'll never meet lost it for you, and you have been living with the receipt ever since.